So you're just getting started with Spooky2, right? Well, one of the very first things you'll hear about is something called the terrain protocol. Pretty much everyone recommends it as the absolute best place to start. But what is it exactly? And why is it so important? Well, let's dive in and break it all down.
So here's the game plan for today. First, we're going to start with the big idea, the philosophy behind the whole thing. Then, we'll get into the nitty-gritty of what the protocol actually is. After that, we'll cover the gear you'll need to run it, how you can actually customize the process for you, and finally, some really important tips for making that 11-day journey a success.
Okay, so before we jump into the what, we really got to talk about the why, because the entire protocol is built on this really simple but honestly pretty profound idea.
This is the core concept right here. Think of your body like a garden. Now, before you can plant beautiful flowers or healthy vegetables, or in our case, run specific frequency programs for your health, what do you have to do? You've got to prepare the soil. You have to pull out all the weeds, right? And those weeds are the toxins, the heavy metals, the parasites, all the junk that's getting in the way and stopping your cells from really thriving.
All right, now that we've got that picture in our heads, let's get into the specifics. What actually is the terrain protocol?
At its heart, it's a very structured detoxification program. The goal here isn't to zero in on one specific illness. Not at all. The entire point is to create a cleaner internal environment, a healthier terrain, so that whatever you decide to do next with frequencies can be way, way more effective.
And this whole thing runs for a very specific amount of time, 11 days, straight. It's designed to run continuously, and that number isn't just random. Each day, or sometimes a couple of days, has a very precise job to do in this whole cleansing process.
And you can see exactly how it's laid out here. There's a real logic to it. See how it starts with metals, then moves on to chemicals and systemic toxins? The idea is to clear out the biggest roadblocks first. That makes it easier for your body to then handle and flush out everything else that comes after. From there, it moves through your gut, your liver, your kidneys, and it finishes up with the lymphatic system. It is a true top-to-bottom cleanse.
Okay, now for the practical part. How do you actually do this? Let's roll up our sleeves and look at the gear and the setup. For running this in remote mode, which is honestly the easiest and most common way to do it, this is your checklist. You need a generator, that's the brain of the whole operation, a Spooky2 remote, and a boost, the software, which is totally free to download, and of course your DNA sample. Something simple like a fingernail clipping is perfect.
And the actual physical setup, seriously, it could not be simpler. The boost just clicks right into the generator, the remote plugs into the boost, and then you take your DNA sample, you sandwich it in a little piece of tape and pop it right inside the remote. That's it. You're ready to go.
And this is why remote mode is absolutely perfect for the terrain protocol. You can run it 24/7 for all 11 days without ever being hooked up to any wires. The tech works over any distance by using your DNA as a kind of unique address, sending those frequencies directly to your body wherever you are. Pretty amazing, right?
Now this is super important. The terrain protocol isn't a one-size-fits-all kind of deal. The software actually gives you different versions, so you can pick the one that's right for your body and your sensitivities. Let's check them out.
Okay, so these are your two main players. The standard protocol is the full-on, complete detox. But, and this is a big one, if you have any of those silver or amalgam dental fillings, you need to use the Terrain Mercury preset. It does everything the standard one does, except it specifically avoids targeting mercury. This is a safety thing. You don't want to risk pulling mercury out of your fillings.
And what if you know you're someone who's a bit more sensitive to things? No problem. There are even gentler options. The non-violent version, for example, helps detox without actually killing pathogens. You can also just choose presets that run at a much lower power, or you can go for the BM presets, which are specifically designed from the ground up to be as gentle as possible.
All right, you've picked your preset, you're all set up. So what happens now? What should you expect? Let's talk about some crucial tips for managing this 11-day process and making it a success.
This is probably the #1 question people ask. You see, as your body starts dumping all these toxins, you might start to feel, well, kind of crummy. It's often called a Herxheimer reaction. You might feel tired, get a headache, maybe even feel like you've got the flu. It's actually a sign that things are working. But yeah, it can definitely be uncomfortable.
So what do? The most important rule is listen to your body. Don't be a hero and try to push through it if you feel awful. The best thing you can do is just pause the protocol. Drink tons of water, get some extra sleep, and maybe use binders to help your body grab onto those toxins. You can always start it up again when you feel better, or even switch to one of those gentler presets we talked about.
And speaking of binders, here's some of the go-to options people use. Things like zeolite or activated charcoal. The timing here is key, though. You always want to take them on an empty stomach, about an hour or two away from any food or other supplements. That way, they bind to the toxins you want to get rid of, not the good nutrients you're trying to absorb.
And that brings us right back to where we started, back to our garden. The whole point of the terrain protocol is to prepare that soil, to get your body ready. So after those 11 days are done, and the garden has finally been weeded, you're left with a really powerful question. What new health are you going to choose to grow?